Aesthetics aside, there was nothing to say, nothing to comment on, just mindless amalgamation of scenes that were supposed to engineer some kind of reaction.
I mean...
There was no basis for anything that was happening. The tech made no sense, the story even less.
I mean, half of that is a valid critique.
Yeah.
I want my time back. I want to wash my brain under cold water and forget.
I don't disagree with this
Okay,
person.
no, that's just wrong. We want more time of this, not less.
Well,
That
maybe.
was a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello and welcome to Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. I'm Ryan, joined as always by Andrew.
Greetings.
And Steven.
Greetings.
Wow. And in this episode, we're reviewing Gareth Edwards' sci-fi movie about AI and feelings. The Creator.
AI and feelings.
And feelings. Yes. Okay, let's get into how I'm feeling about this plot summary.
I
Here we
won't
go.
go to heaven.
Don't even start yet.
Careful. Okay, against the backdrop of a war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot, in the form of a young child.
I thought you were going to say a robot in disguise as a young
robot
child.
in disguise.
As a young child.
Oh man, what if Soundwave was in this? He'd be like, Optimus Prime. All right, this movie was released on September 29th.
My birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
Happy birthday to you and the creator.
Oh, thanks.
You're intrinsically tied forever.
I know, and I don't know if I want that.
This was directed by...
It could be Cowboy Bebop. Live action.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I was like, I'd be fine with Cowboy Bebop.
I got to look up what's come out on my birthday. There's probably some garbage movies.
Probably nothing.
Okay, directed by...
Hallmark originals.
Probably, yeah, Thanksgiving right there around that time. Directed by Gareth Edwards, who did Monsters, Rogue One, and Godzilla, the 2014 reboot with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Godzilla reboot?
Or the Legendary Pictures, the U.S. one, the one from 2014.
The one with Ken Watanabe in it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's just called Godzilla.
Let them fight?
Yeah.
Is that okay, yeah, okay.
Oh, man.
No,
Wait,
that was a fine. That was actually pretty good.
Not to dox Ryan here, but are you 22? Is that your birthday?
I'm 22 years old.
You're not 22.
Please.
Write that on the dry board.
26.
26. Ooh.
Don't say the month.
That's what I'm trying to...
My social is...
Well, because my initial search was very positive for you.
Because
this search may not be as positive. Well, because what I thought was the 22nd, it was like Toy Story, Frozen 2, Addams Family. I was like, man.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't be that lucky.
Yeah, no. So, oh, boy. Ooh, woof. I hate to break it to you. At the 26th, you've got The Haunted Mansion.
Best movie ever. Next.
2003 version. A Loud House Christmas.
Love it. I've seen it 1,000 times. Obvi.
Milk.
Oh, yeah. That was actually pretty good.
It's a decent film. Yeah.
It's about Harvey Milk in San Francisco in the 70s. It's pretty good.
Penguins of Madagascar.
Okay.
Australia.
That's the spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
For those in the know.
The spin-off. Super Intelligence. Four Christmases. And Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Which version?
Okay.
1999.
Okay.
So that's
a mixed bag.
Like I said, when I first pulled this up, going off the date I thought it was.
No
I was
terrible
like,
stinkers, though.
Dude, like Toy Story, like Frozen 2, it was a banger.
All right.
So anyways, Gareth Edwards directed Monsters, Rogue One, and Godzilla, the 2014 American U.S. version.
God, that came out in 2014?
Doesn't it make you feel old? It's almost a decade old. Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's got the mom from Bates Motel in it, too.
So real quick, before I move past this point. So have either of you guys seen Monsters?
No.
Okay, so Monsters...
Well, I haven't. I don't know if
Steven, have you seen Monsters?
Andrew spoke for me, and it's okay, because I have also not seen it.
I do what I can.
Came out in I want to say 08, 09 or something. And it is a movie...
About monsters?
Well, it's about kaiju, right?
Oh, okay.
But they're kind of
real monsters, not like humans.
Yeah.
Monsters.
And it's kind of like a there's basically this place in South America where kaiju exist, and it's kind of like a demilitarized zone.
Brazil?
Like
Yeah. Argentina.
It's probably like the Amazon, I'm sure.
It's somewhere junglish.
Yeah.
Somewhere junglish.
There's whatever. It's tropical looking in South America.
I gotcha.
So Or maybe it's Mexico. Hold on.
Could be Costa Rica. Anyways,
knows?
keep going.
They speak Spanish or something, maybe Portuguese. I'm English. I don't know. Moving past it. So it's a movie, and like the monsters are like basically happening around everything, but it's about these two people.
Yeah.
And it was done on like a shoestring budget, but it looks like a huge blockbuster. So I think it's very apropos to talk about it compared to this movie.
Because like how this dude knows how to squeeze every dollar. My God.
His background is in visual effects. He did nothing but like
clearly shows.
visual
that
effects.
really shows.
Yeah, and then he moved over to directing with Monsters, and because of that movie is how he got the Godzilla gig for 2014.
And like that Godzilla movie, and I guess there's a new one coming out pretty soon.
It's a series on Apple.
Oh, series, that's what it is. But
in the same legendary universe.
Yeah. And that Godzilla was pretty good.
Yeah, so like the 2014 Godzilla was pretty good. The problem with it was you had basically Bryan Cranston in the first like third of it, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson kind of takes over, and he just, no offense to Aaron Taylor Johnson, doesn't have the acting chops that Bryan Cranston does.
He's just not Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, so when you had Cranston and Ken Watanabe going back and forth, it was like, wow. And then when it's just Aaron Taylor Johnson, like bouncing from location to location, so we have a person to follow through all the adventures, it's just kind of gets like, it's fine. It's not bad.
Yeah, it gets a little draggy.
And then there was like the second, Godzilla movie in the Legendary Pictures, and the third one, Godzilla vs. Kong. Those were not done by Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
That was someone else.
Right.
But Monsters, to my point, was what got him that gig.
Yeah.
And related to this movie, he did that on just like a shoestring budget. And everyone was like, how did you make a movie that looked this good with like nothing?
Nothing, yeah.
Okay, this movie, the creator, back to the plot here, was written by Gareth Edwards and Chris Weitz. Music was by Hans Zimmer, starring John David Washington, Madeline Univoyles.
You weren't kidding about Monsters being a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
$500,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That is like,
yeah.
When you say that, I'm like, okay, so like, we're talking like 20 million?
No. It looks probably like a $20 or $30 million movie, though. That's the thing.
That's
it looks like as good as like, especially for the time.
Yeah.
You got to rewind your CG brain a little bit on that one if you were to watch it like tonight.
Getting out of the yachts here.
Yeah, you're coming, and so it looked really good.
Anyways,
back to what was I saying? Starring John David Washington, Madeline Univoyles, Gemma Chan, I think. Is it Gemma Chan? I think it's Gemma Chan.
I think it's Gemma Chan.
Ken Watanabe and Allison Janney, which Allison Janney, I've never seen her play a bad guy before. And I was like, wow, get it, Allison Janney.
Yeah, let's go.
Budget was only $80 million.
Reported.
I saw one report that said 86, but that was like...
I mean, that's tit
like
for tat at that
if we're
point.
plus or minus 5 million
That's
here,
a rounding
who cares?
error.
Yeah, like,
and I haven't pulled up a current box
for
office
Disney
because I was
it is.
waiting to see how
So
it
when I
did
checked
over
it
the weekend.
yesterday, it was around 30 million global.
so we're recording this the week after its opening weekend.
Yes.
Yes. So let's see here. The creator is looking at
This is a
currently
live score update here.
15 million domestic, 33.6 worldwide.
Yeah.
So that's
pretty slow
below what they hoped for.
It definitely. Now, granted, I mean, like they're still a little close to halfway for making it, but half of that's global, or international, which is the big problem because they don't really make a lot of money.
Don't get the same percentage back.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hoping, I think, for 25 to 35-ish domestic.
Well, and then you would hope that there would be
So-
word of mouth that happens because obviously this hit at a really weird time for the strikes to where it was too close to release date.
Promotional material, but you couldn't cancel the release either.
Because it was just a little bit too close to a little bit of everything.
Well, because in case listeners don't know, like the actors aren't able to do press. They're not able to do interviews to promote
promotional
movies
tours.
and stuff because of the strike.
Which
so
kind of could have almost benefited it, right? Because right now there's just not a whole lot else out.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty empty field. It's
so
not
there
like
was no
Barbie
competition.
standing on the opposite side there. Super Mario Brothers is staring at you like, what? What are you going to do, you know?
Yeah. Okay, I want to try something slightly different. So we're going into our overall thoughts.
Curveball.
I want everybody to condense your overall thoughts to one sentence. And I'm going to start with Steven, go to Andrew, and then come to me.
Oh, see, I don't like this.
I want a one-sentence description of what you thought about this movie. And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Steven, what did you think about this movie?
Boy, this is pretty. Where is it going? Nobody knows.
Thank you. Andrew.
I would love to see a video game or a story that is not this story in this universe at another point in time.
Good. My one-sentence review would be this movie is a mile wide and an inch deep.
It's
All right,
The
let's get into our
world's
overall
most dangerous
spoiler-free
diving
thoughts.
pool.
Spoiler-free thoughts. So, what did y'all think?
by far one of the most visually stunning sci-fi films I have ever seen.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
Like,
fantastic.
legitimately.
Dune
design.
levels of quality for visuals.
One of the cinematographers worked on Dune.
I mean, and on
Absurd.
some levels, it's higher than Dune because you get to pull current, like, modern looking buildings and
Yeah.
stuff in here and
Yeah.
then mesh them against the sci-fi elements
Yeah.
for
And
that
it's
contrast.
Phenomenal.
Oh my God.
I'll
it
jump
is
in a little
incredible.
bit on some trivia now because it's spoiler free. It's mostly about the filmmaking
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
techniques, right? So the biggest difference, I think, and just listening to the way they did this movie versus other stuff, is that they shot everything. No blue screens or very few blue screens, not a lot of tracking dots.
Yeah.
They had no plan for what was going to be CG and what wasn't.
Oh, interesting.
Until they had it shot. And they went to 80 different locations on site around the world to shoot this.
And it absolutely shows.
Oh, yeah.
And so the two cinematographers, the reason they switched midway through is because COVID basically messed up scheduling. And like the first cinematographer was the guy that worked on Dune.
Dune, yeah.
And he had to leave to go continue work on Dune 2 because the work on Dune 2 got interrupted by
Yeah,
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie, it
Kinda
got interrupted
snuck in
because Dune 2
between.
started back up.
Yeah.
But both cinematographers that worked with Gareth had the same idea. They basically shot the entire movie on Sony FX3 cameras. You can buy that at Best Buy for $4,000.
Yeah, it's not an expensive camera.
This is a prosumer camera. They use the Ronin RS2 gimbal. I use that at work. Okay? And I don't work in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So they basically had a tiny crew. And the
Kind
overall
of guerrilla style shooting.
they figured out that it's cheaper to basically fly a skeleton crew of just like a few people
Then set up.
to a bunch of different places than it is to basically pay a bunch of people to make CG scenes.
Yep.
Try to pretend that this Hollywood backlot is now
Right.
these 6 different
I
locations.
mean, well, that's the thing.
then-
Is like it absolutely shows.
Well, so what happened, because this is completely backwards from how we traditionally think of special effects, right? When they got back, they edited the entire film together and had a complete edit with no CG.
wow.
Then handed it off to the CG artists who only had to make exactly what was needed. They didn't have to do like, so with a Marvel movie or like
yeah,
Star
yeah.
Wars, they do
fill in the whole background.
tons
Yeah.
of, well, they do a lot of like extra scenes that get cut.
Yeah,
but they don't know they're going to get cut.
because they don't edit the film until
That's
it's
a
all
great
there.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
they go in and spend all this time with this good lighting for this scene that then goes away.
Yeah, that's like
That's a good
3
point.
months of work for a production studio that's just like on the cutting room floor. You
Yeah.
know? So this way, it's like the CG artists, the VFX artists only have to work with literally the takes that are going to end up there. The other thing that some of the VFX artists said that was like cool about doing it this way,
Yeah.
because in my head, I'm like, it's got to be a nightmare to try to like
Recomposite stuff.
yeah, because he would like watch the scene and be like, that guy in the background should be a robot. And so they would like mask him out and make him a robot. What he said was they shot with a lot of depth of field. And he's
Yeah.
like, there's a lot of scenes where there's just no CG in the background. It's just blurry and you can't tell because they got everything within the first 10, 20 yards.
As good as
Oh,
that
right.
needs to be,
Yeah.
and then it's just
Yeah.
kind of jungle or whatever else. It
But
doesn't
the
matter.
VFX artist said that it was good because when you have a full shot, you can look at how the lighting is working and you can look at existing buildings and kind of like basically add to this building
yeah.
instead of if you shoot on a lot with blue screen everywhere, it's like I have to create the entirety of the scene.
You,
Okay,
you have to create fake lights,
I'm not,
all
I'm
sorts
not
of
gonna
stuff.
lie. This upsets me because I wish this movie had huge success.
100%.
Because this is the kind of process that Disney,
And
Marvel,
like
Star Wars,
Lucasfilm.
all Disney. Okay, I think I just listed as
Yeah,
Disney.
Disney.
Just pick another Hollywood. Disney.
Well, that's the
Paramount.
thing, because the other ones that do good sci-fi, Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve, do it all practical
They're not-
anyway.
Yeah, and they're not
Right.
working with Disney.
So the thing that breaks my
Disney,
heart,
listen to this.
Yeah, seriously.
the
Pay
thing
attention.
that breaks my heart about the box office isn't so much that like I love this movie. Like I really think it's visually incredible. It's stunning. I just feel
phenomenal.
like its script cannot juggle the characters in the emotional weight. It can't land,
Well,
and like there's just the connective tissue in the story is
So I gotta-
just
Like
not there.
paper thin at best.
I got a factoid
And-
for that, right?
Well, hold on. I mean, there's definitely
go
like
ahead.
a 5-hour cut of this film
He's got-
somewhere.
Who wants to jump in and take
Oh,
my,
so
my point?
when I was watching this video that basically goes through how they did it, which by the way, if you want to watch that video, it is called From the YouTube channel Frame Voyager. It's called The Insane IMAX Production of the Creator, and they really get into like.
I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, there'll be a link to that,
Cast.
and a lot of the other facts I'm pulling from is from a Variety article called "How Gareth
I'm
Edwards."
not going to link to Variety.
Okay, cool. How Gareth Edwards' sci-fi opus achieved blockbuster scale at a fraction of the cost. Anyways, no, the thing that upsets me is that like it's not going to make a lot of money, and studios are going to look at this and be like,
see it as a failure.
See, you can't just do this guerrilla stuff. You can't just do like special effects.
And
blah 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 blah.
that's the wrong lesson to take.
That's the 10 out of 10
1,000,000%.
side of this film.
Yeah.
Right.
But
yeah.
I do think the problem is, like you said already, stealing from me, there's a 5-hour cut. Like the initial
and
cut
we only
is
got
5
2
hours.
hours?
2 hours 15.
Yeah.
So when I referenced that video, the reason I did it is because when they said he cut the whole footage together, the first cut was 5 hours, and then they cut it down, and then they
trimmed
gave
it
that to the
before
VFX
they did the
artist.
VFX.
And
Yeah.
the problem is that this is such a dense film story-wise that there's so many things that happen in it that if you had any kind of emotional connection to any of the characters or even had an inkling of what like the motivations were for some people, it would make a whole lot more sense and actually make the film better. And it just doesn't exist.
It almost feels like it would be better as a TV series.
I think it would be much better as a TV
It needs more time.
series.
Like if you sit down and say, hey, our story is 5 hours and we're going to trim this to less than half of that.
Just make it a mini-series, guys.
Or just do part 1, part 2. Like if this was a really phenomenal story with these effects and you told me at the end, part 2 comes next year or 2
I'm
years.
there.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, you'll get my money again, you know? Like I think that's where it suffered. Even honestly, okay, I'm a hypocrite for this in a sense because I think I've complained the most on the cast about why is your movie so GD long? All right, you don't need to be 2
Gosh
hours.
darn for those.
You don't need to be
Gosh
2 hours,
darn it.
45 minutes. We don't need 3 hours and 15 minutes. Like you
This
gotta
one
be able
needed
to
to be
trim some
longer.
fat. This movie, 2 hours and 15 is not enough. 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Drop
Right.
3 minutes here, 4 minutes there, 2 minutes here, 1 minute there, 10 seconds here. I don't care. Spread that out throughout the movie, and I think you have a way more cohesive whole.
Yeah.
Because it is really disheartening because like the visuals are absolutely a 10 out of 10.
I wanna-
like some
I
of
wanna
the best I've ever seen.
Get in this world and wallow in it. Like, like put this guy, Paramount, put this guy in charge of the next Halo series you feel like losing money on.
to me too, like to keep it spoiler free, like there's definitely some emotional stuff that happens in the third act that is only emotional because of really good acting from John David Washington and
the kid.
The kid
who
Madeline Univoyle's first credit.
Phenomenal.
By the way, first movie she's ever been in.
Phenomenal.
So like they are doing heavy lifting with
Oh
his
my gosh, yes.
like not much in the script and not much development throughout the movie.
Yeah.
I think if we'd gotten more, it would be a lot easier to be like right there with it.
And the thing is too, like I really try not to be like a Debbie Downer when it comes to these kind of things. And I really feel whenever I'm going into like, especially a sci-fi film, like I am the core demographic for this. I love hard sci-fi. I love visual effects. Like I should be the one that should be giving this the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, I was like, all right, come on, like give me something to work with here, guys.
Yeah.
And it just never happened, which was what was really disappointing because I walked out of that film where I was just like, but there was so much here and just nothing.
Well, I feel like go ahead, Steven. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, what gets me is this film, right? So you have, some productions who are big on telling and not showing. You have other productions who are big on showing and not telling. This felt very much so kind of like an older...
The worst of both worlds.
Well, it's like an older anime film where they're like, I'm not going to tell you and I'm not going to show you either. Figure it out because I just assumed you've already read the comic books, right?
Yeah.
But there's no backing material. for
there's
this.
nothing else
there's
there,
no,
yeah. There's no book
runs
that
of
they're
manga or whatever.
adapting from, yeah.
So like when they don't show you and don't explain anything to you, which they do some exposition at the start to try and cushion it, right?
A little bit,
Build
yeah.
the world a little. But for this kind, like when you have a big sci-fi, the world building is like the core character in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And they needed to spend a little more time with that, with us, the audience, and the world, a little back and forth there, so we have a little better understanding of some of the pieces at play here.
Yeah.
And then you can run your emotional thread through that. And they didn't really do that. And they also didn't really run the emotional thread either.
Yeah. So you don't need to develop an AI sentient robot. to get your content, what you can do right now.
I don't.
No.
What do I
I'm
do?
coding like
You bring
crazy
the
over
content.
here.
You can go to spoilersintendedpodcast.com and get all of our content that we have on the website right now. Episodes. That's what we have.
That's the content episode.
What else do we have? Links to anything on there?
We have links to Discord and our socials.
Let me talk about the Discord for a minute.
We'll allow you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Discord chat. That's what we say when you join. We say like, hey, whatever. We wave.
We wave. There's a button.
wave.
Discord
There's a button
automates
for
it.
it.
If you don't know what Discord is, it's a really cool place to hang out. It's like it's a private community. We talk about our episodes. We talk about non-episodes, what we're watching, what we're playing,
eating.
what we're eating,
cooking.
We
I
show
wanna see
pictures of our
photos
pets.
of your pets.
Yeah, it's a good time. You should come check us out. It's free. Get in there.
Totally
Yeah.
free.
You want to talk about another free, very not private community? That's called social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Spoilers intended. Have a look for us. We post on there every week. Teasers for the upcoming episodes. Other random things pop up on there. Sometimes where the next thing we're watching is going to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So get on there, follow us, like, share, and comment.
All right, we have destroyed the spoiler wall in the sky that was preventing us from talking about spoilers.
That's not the sound it is. Please no. That is not
All
a
right.
sci-fi sound.
So a little bit of trivia. I kind of got into a lot of the best trivia earlier because it's such a brand new movie. There's not a ton
There's
of
really
trivia.
not a lot.
And there's not like actors out on a promotional tour talking about the wacky hijinks.
Right, yeah. So there's not a much, but I'll throw a few out here real quick before we get into our spoiler thoughts. Director Gareth Edwards wrote the protagonist character specifically for John David Washington after seeing his performance in Monsters and Men in 2018.
Interesting.
Which I haven't seen Monsters and Men, but
was he the main lead in Tenet?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So he's Denzel Washington's son.
I believe so.
That's what
I'll
I
double
was like.
check.
Every time I see him, I'm like,
because I was pretty sure I had seen something saying that he was his. I was like, well, I don't want to just carry that through.
Yeah,
here.
don't just assume
Be
that.
stupid, but yeah.
So yeah, this film was shot on the Sony FX3, which is
just wild.
It's a full frame entry level cinema camera.
I just imagine like Gareth Edwards like going into Best
He's
Buy.
in Best Buy.
I need like 3 of these.
Yeah,
You know what,
think-
actually,
let's
we-
go with just 2.
We can't afford. We need two.
Cut it back to 2. Yeah.
Which is worth pointing out. That you buy a $4,000 camera, the lens that's in front of the camera probably costs more than the body of the camera.
Probably, yeah.
So like, it's not just like, oh yeah, they showed up with a couple $100. They made
A
you
little
still
18
can,
to
yeah.
55.
Yeah.
Oh, the kit lens of
3.5 to
3.5 to
5
4.5. Yeah, let me tell you, you get some great depth of field on
Real,
that, baby.
real great depth of field.
So one thing that Gareth obviously commented on during the press for this was kind of like he comes from the world of independent filmmaking, doing both visual effects and directing monsters, right? And then he did Godzilla 2014, which had like 180 something million budget. And then he did Rogue One, which is like 200
Yeah,
something
so,
million plus, because
230, yeah. And so he's worked both on these small independent movies and
The
giant
massive
things or whatever.
blockbusters.
And so when he was talking about making movies like that, he said, quote, "When you first make a movie, you have to kind of make it by hook or crook." He says, "Typically everyone's first film is kind of a no budget feature. Then if you're very lucky like I was, you get teleported into an amazing situation where you get to do one of the big Hollywood films that you've always dreamt of being able to do. But I find there's definite advantages and disadvantages to both."
Oh, for sure.
And so it's interesting to me
He
because
probably had a lot of control over this one.
so the
Yes,
reason
yes.
he did it at such a low budget was he wanted absolute and complete control. And so the only way he was
better or
able to
for
do
worse
that
here.
for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it like, cause like I had this thought earlier when we were talking about like, if this was like 20, 30 minutes longer, I was like, man, I would be very interested if they release a director's cut of this.
I would like, because it does feel
Yes.
a little bit like the Blade Runner problem, where there's
Yes.
there's some
Yes.
like studio interference. Maybe I don't even.
I don't
know.
think there was.
I don't think there
Necessarily
was.
some director. I don't. But I could
Could be
very
direct-
well
his own-
some director
own worst interference.
Left
Could
hand
be.
versus right hand.
Well, because like to be just quite honest, like I think he as a director is incredible at the visual side of things. He
Yes.
clearly knows what he's doing.
I don't think he's that good with writing, because I know him and
Yeah.
Tony Gilroy did the writing for Rogue One, and I think Tony Gilroy is definitely the better.
Well, based
also-
on what we've seen with Andor, right? that feels like Tony Gilroy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably was the main input.
Yeah, was the main input.
I know also Gary Whitta contributed to Rogue One a little bit. He's a comics author and a book author, but like he did some kind of first draft that then they built off of. So like I feel like with Rogue One, it was very good because there were so many.
There's a lot of other hands
kind
in
of
there,
guiding
yeah.
it. Yeah. So for this movie, he cited films such as Apocalypse Now, Baraka,
I can see it.
Blade Runner,
I can see it.
Akira,
Yeah.
Rain
Akira
Man,
for sure.
Yeah.
The Hit, which was 1984. I don't know what that is.
Don't know that one.
E.T. and Paper Moon,
Ew,
which
E.T. Wow.
Paper Moon's really good as his sources of inspiration visually for this
Interesting.
film. So
I mean, I can see it.
I could definitely
Yeah.
see Akira for sure.
And
Oh, for
Blade
sure,
Runner,
yeah.
because they're basically the same thing in a lot of ways.
they are, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in a lot, visually, there's a lot of similarities. I do like, I will appreciate, right? We have, hey, we're going to go into another cyberpunk dystopian-esque future, so it's time to go to the streets of LA where it only rains. I'm very happy that wasn't what happened.
Well, yeah,
we went
and
other
then-
places.
Yeah, because they blew up L.A.
Yeah, like right? They're like, you know what? We can't go to the rain-drenched streets. Which again, L.A. The rain. Wait, what? People, what? The rain-drenched streets of L.A. Why? Because we nuked it at the start. Problem solved.
Problem
Go somewhere
solved.
else.
The whole locale in Southeast Asia is phenomenal.
So I know they did some shots in Tibet, some in Thailand,
They
and some
did a
in,
lot in Thailand.
I think Taiwan maybe, but I know for sure Thailand, a large amount was. But like to me, that's part of what makes it so good is that they went to 80 actual real world
Yes.
locations because he was talking about
It
like
makes such a difference.
well, two things. Number one, visually, it's a real place.
Yeah.
But number two, he cited in a different interview, he was like, let's say, for example, the village fight where the big tanks come out and they run across the bridge.
Man, those tanks are
The
some of the
best looking
coolest
tanks ever.
First off,
oh my god!
So many of the vehicles in this thing are such a cool
No,
design.
not so many. All. Just say
all.
all.
Yeah,
Just all.
the police interceptor things in the sky in I don't know, New Asia or whatever.
Yeah.
The long weird. I was like, that looks so cool.
But you know what the only bad looking designs were?
What's that?
It was the shot of like the general's motorcade where the back vehicles were just like Lincoln Navigators, like just stock SUVs from modern
Yeah.
day. I was like, boy, these look terrible compared to everything else.
Everything
we've
else.
seen.
Well, so those tanks. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
Those tanks are like the mix of like a StarCraft siege tank, but
Okay.
the size of a house.
a very large
house.
That's an
Like a-
apartment
like a-
complex.
yeah, like-
apartment building on its side on wheels.
But just like the weapons that it uses,
Yeah.
and it's just
the
so
targeting
cool.
when it's like tracking the
Dude,
people.
the targeting tracking system of everything and the way they use it. Like again, I'll give them props. If you wanted to create like an AI propaganda video in terms of like promote AI as the good guys,
Yeah.
this is it, right? When the robot is like has the target locked on and he runs
Oh.
for cover in the shed and he stops because people are there, and then he just turns around and eats the missile.
Yeah.
Instead of maybe saving himself, but also maybe endangering. It's like, I don't know if our version of AI would do that. I think it would,
Now listen, ChatGPT, we used it. It was fine. No, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. What's the one that does all the drawings?
Mid-Journey.
Midjourney.
I'm pretty sure Midjourney would look at those people and be like, "Those aren't real people. Their hands aren't all wonky."
What
It's
if I
fine."
draw them eating spaghetti and it's really nightmare fuel? Yeah. That location right there where they did that, where Gareth Edwards was like, that's a place. We didn't have to build a set.
Yeah.
We just showed up and we filmed. He's
Yeah.
like, if you
Hey,
had to
yo,
build
can we
that
just
set, he goes, that could cost you $200,000 to build a set like that big, that
that
like
you have control over and
yeah.
everything.
And they did some shots on the volume at Pinewood Studios.
Oh, interesting.
For a few things, not a ton. I don't think it was
I'm
like
gonna assume
extensive.
some of the indoor shots or like on the Nomad. Maybe.
yeah, I
Possibly, yeah.
There wasn't a
I
lot
can
of
definitely see it on
Like,
Nomad.
well, like Nomad, it's like we're gonna travel to a location where these hallways exist. Go on to Pine Studios, hitting up the volume.
the one thing a dude pointed out that I've never really noticed is that the volume is every time you see the volume, it's almost always a curved room.
Yeah.
like it's an open curved room. There's not a lot of walls. There's
Yeah.
like So I don't know which scenes because there wasn't any footage of what scenes were
Yeah.
which, but definitely he used the volume a little bit. But another point of like, if you can get away with using the volume for a couple of scenes and that saves you a bunch of money, his point is that like, I can take that money and then on the back end, put it towards VFX.
Yep.
Like we'll
And
shoot
really
it.
push it.
So on the beach at the very front, like the opening scene when
Yeah.
they storm the beach, the guys storm the beach or whatever. And his
It's
wife's
a little bit
there.
too dark there, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, they shot with Sony
it's meant to be
FX3s.
kind of you don't know what's going on.
I understand, but like again, you can shoot dark film.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
and make it still legible.
Right. Yeah. I think they did it so that the blue would pop on the thing.
I get it.
Whatever.
You can still do that.
You can. I don't disagree with you. It was very dark.
Really dark night. New moon.
A lot
in New
of this
Asia,
film is dark.
and then the blue lights of Nomad just blom on.
I mean, I didn't
in.
notice a lot of it being too dark, other than that beach scene. Really, everything else was.
There's
fine.
a couple other scenes whenever they're like.
It's every time we go to that beach when they return to the house. It's also
still
pretty
dark. Yeah, it's like, why is this dark?
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
So, anyways, that beach, right?
Yeah.
If you look in the background, you can see lights on, and it looks like it's just part of the village. It's not. It's a town, and that's just businesses, because they didn't close down the beach. They just showed up with like 8 dudes and the actors and did it, and there was no like closing anything down. He's like,
over there like, hey, is there like a film school around here or something? They're doing like a little like student video or something?
yeah, he's because they were literally. He had a person running audio, like 2 cameras, a person that had a microphone a light on the end of a boom pole, and that was their lighting. They would basically just take it and like as the scene changed, they would move it and
That's why
hold it
it's
for
so
a
dark.
take.
They couldn't pay enough people to hold lights.
He's like, they didn't like bring a huge light kit like you would normally do. They would take the natural light in a scene and then they would augment it with like a light and then be like, go for it. Man. Run and gun. Like they'd shoot so much in a day, it sounds like. But the other thing that was interesting, I thought, was the when they find the AI child.
Yeah.
That area is a particle accelerator in Thailand. Oh. They went to it and they were like, this is a cool place. Can we just shoot here? And they were like,
oh, I guess so.
They turned them down. They said, absolutely not, because they didn't think they were a film crew. There was like 6 people.
Like, there's not enough people here. How could you be a film crew?
They were like,
go away, student production.
I worked on Rogue One, Star Wars.
And again, tiny cameras on a little prosumer gimbal. You know, like they would not let him shoot there. And so one of the guys found out that he was the director of Rogue One, and they were huge fans, and they were like, "Can we be in the movie?" And I think there are a couple of the extras in
are
like
they like the
scientists
techs
or whatever?
Yeah.
Nice.
And so it's like they got to use the particle accelerator as their like backdrop, and they got some extras.
That's incredible.
And I was like, that's the kind of filmmaking I want to see in the world, and I'm worried we're not going to because this movie is bombing.
Yeah, because it's not going to make its money back just because it's not an engaging story.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
and
I
it's
think
not
word of
that
mouth is going to harm it because of that.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing is like I'm not going to like recommend it to my friends that I know love sci-fi because I'm just like the movie itself as a whole, as the whole package just wasn't very good, but like it is absolutely worth seeing just for the visuals. But I don't know if you want to go spend theater money for that.
For me, and let's get into the story a little bit, right? To me, it's like the bullet points of what happens make sense.
It does, yeah.
It's like, okay, this happens, then this happens, and this happens. Cool. It's for me, it's the connective tissue between them.
Nothing.
Where like, we've had a lot of examples of movies throughout the years where you've got the grumpy dude and the kid, and they fall in love by the end of it.
It's a common trope.
Look at The Last of Us. Look at
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. Look at insert several others, and we don't ever get enough meat on the bone and interaction between them.
Interesting is watching their interactions though on screen. There are definite moments where I was like, man, I kind of wish that like Mandalorian felt more like this at times.
It definitely,
because
there's
there's an actual actor and not a puppet.
Well, and also they
and to do with a trash can on his head.
Speak English instead of
babbling
verbals or
But
whatever.
to that point, I think that's a huge credit to John David Washington and
Alfie.
Madeline Univoyles. I want to say her name because it's her first.
Her name needs to be said multiple times.
Because
phenomenal.
I think the two of them do a lot of heavy lifting in scenes where the script is probably lackluster or not. There's not much there, but it's just not enough to buoy the whole film.
So, and kind of the issue is that I'll say some of the editing doesn't do it any justice either, because there's one scene whenever they get into New Asia where he is like kind of admonishing her for just existing.
Yeah.
And then literally the next scene, he's like trying to be caring and super nice to her. I'm like, did we miss something in between here?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like in the editing too, there was a couple of moments where like there would be like a scene that didn't have music in it that I felt like there should be music playing.
Oh, there was and that's my other sticking point is this is a Hans Zimmer score and he is a fantastic composer and the main theme is good. Yeah, everything else was just not utilized at all.
I like the music. Well, see, and I think this is like a chicken and the egg issue here. I like the music, but it's almost a question of, did the music lack emotion because there wasn't enough emotional connection with us with the storyline?
Right.
Or was the storyline not enough of a connection because the music didn't have enough emotion? And I think they worked together to just kind of be whelming as opposed to like really hitting you with one or the other.
There's like a couple of moments where the music kicks in and it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. I like that.
That's
you know,
that's a cool sound.
But then there's like,
Then there's like a whole like 15-minute section where there's just no music at all.
and then they use Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead in that one part.
Well,
and I'm
they use a lot of juxtaposition music throughout, and I'm just like, it doesn't fit tonally for anything.
Yeah, it felt like Everything in Its Right Place is a very much like if you were going to tell a dystopian AI, you know, it works, it tracks.
It does.
Yeah.
But when they used it right there at that moment, it felt like,
Yeah, it's like, that's a choice.
Also,
I was like, that'd work better later, actually. You know,
speaking of music, I didn't realize that Sturgill Simpson was also an actor.
Okay, apparently he is.
He's a country.
Yeah, country
music,
slash.
right. Yeah, so he's he's Drew. He's the buddy of our main character.
Oh, okay. I didn't think he did a great job.
No, I didn't think he did either.
Sorry, Sturgill. Like, keep making music, bud. But
it's just funny because
was
it's
he
like
the arms dealer or whatever? Or?
he was the guy that
factory
came
guy.
in.
Yeah.
So like watching him,
Yeah.
and I was like, this dude looks really familiar, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
because he's not a very good actor. And then like they were doing the credits at the end, I was like, Sturgill Simpson. I was like, wait a minute.
Doesn't he normally have like a beard?
I mean, it was basically the same facial hair, kind of that little goatee thing.
I know that we can sit and bag on the movie, and I don't want to do that because
Well, I want to. There are a lot of people that really like this movie,
Yeah.
and there's probably people listening to this that like it that are like getting mad that we're trashing it. So I want to say why.
Well, so I feel like this is the kind of film that very similar in many ways to Blade Runner, right? When you watch Blade Runner now, even watching the best version, you can walk out of that and be like, I guess I see why people really love it, but like we're like having a fight scene and then there's just a dove. The dude just like grabs a dove out of the air.
Well, it's the same problem of like there's not enough depth with the characters in Blade Runner. Yeah.
So I could very easily see this film 10, 15, 20 years from now being one of those films that people point to as, hey, this is the grandfather of new wave cyberpunk. New wave dystopian sci-fi or whatever.
Well, and that kind of brings me to my thing is I would love to see this universe in a video game format or in another like TV series or something.
Miniseries.
To give us more time in here with like these stunning visuals and world building that they've made, where it's just one of those things where it's like this specific story just doesn't do it for me. But man, I want to be back in there.
Well, and I had this thought midway through the movie when I was watching it because I was like, it's just something about the story is not clicking with me.
Yeah.
And I had this thought of like, if this exact story was done in an anime or done in a video game,
It would probably work.
It would probably work because I think your brain kind of fills in some of the gaps.
Well, you're also, I think, in those mediums, you're more accepting of the moments of when they just don't really explain what's going on. They just do stuff because either you're going to get a sequel that's going to backfill that knowledge, or there's other you're going to run into another NPC who's going to tell you a story. You're like, oh, that makes more sense. But you don't get that time here with in a film.
Well, so like as an example, and this may be lost on both of you guys. I'm not sure if you've seen Serial Experiments Lane. No, it came out late 90s, and it is very much a cerebral kind of thing. It's kind of about like not the birth of the internet. Yeah, it's an anime. And there is zero hand-holding and zero exposition about what is happening throughout the thing. Yeah. And it's 13 episodes, and it is very much you have to fill in the gaps yourself. They're never going to explain it to you.
Right.
A lot of stuff is left up for interpretation. And that is the kind of experience that I think that Gareth Edwards wanted for this.
Oh,
It just doesn't track that well with a live-action movie.
For whatever reason, because I would even say that like the Ghost in the Shell 1995 animated movie, right, is the same way, and it's visually really good. But like I've read the manga, I've watched the series.
Like there's a series. There's been like 2 prequels.
Right.
There's so much stuff now
that you can
backfill. And in 1995, you might have been like, yeah, this is really cool to look at, but it doesn't like it's the same thing. What I'm kind of going out here.
It's the Blade Runner thing of like it's very visually there, but there's not a lot of depth. We don't really explore why this character feels this way.
It's on point. Like it passes the vibe check with flying color, right? Like this is everything that I expect to feel about a semi-dystopian cyberpunk future set in Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
where we're not just Shanghai drenched in rain. You know.
So what? Okay, so what are some of your favorite? I'm not going to say moments, just bits of the film.
Let me think here.
Oh man, every single mechanical object on screen.
I
period.
loved the bomb robots.
Oh, the little barrels running out
Little
there.
trash can guys. Dunk, dunk, dunk. It's
been
the way they run.
It's been an honor serving
They're
with you,
so
General.
doofy when
Yeah.
they run, and then whenever he just kind of like stops in the middle of the bridge and just kind of like sits there for a second, I'm just like, you just look so silly.
Yeah.
Well, they look like the goofy robots that people who don't like robots would build.
Yeah.
I like, and I'll say this. Well, okay, that's probably a side discussion. I love the, what was it called? The Ark?
Nomad.
Nomad, yeah.
Nomad's
so
design
it
is so
kind of-
good.
it's-
Oh my god.
The design of it, the execution of it, the way it works,
Just
like when you can
the way that
see
it
the
looms
target
and-
on the
yeah,
ground,
the way it looms in the
and like
background.
people are on this mountain just looking like, what do you think that's going to do? You know, they're just watching it go by, and it's like, what if you see it come towards you? You're done. You know, like it's such a.
It's like that William Dafoe meme where he's just looking
Willem.
up, and he's just like covered in light from something. He has like eyes open.
Oh yeah, it's exactly like that. But I thought that was really cool. And when I first saw it on screen, I thought, oh, it's probably a little up in the air, and then you realize how big it is, and it's like
basically
it's
in
low
space,
orbit.
yeah.
Like you're like, oh,
This is
that's cool.
I want to know
Massive.
how bright those lights have to be to have like
how
the
many,
direct.
How many kilowatts of laser output it requires?
I mean, you're just scorching the
from
earth as
space.
you're going
Oh,
by.
at that point, once
You're going to anyways after you fire,
them.
so like, what's it
Yeah.
matter? I bet it's like just a billion laser pointers just stuck together end to end. Turn them all on.
All those green laser pointers.
One
that
guy
you
every
can, like,
morning has to turn them all
blind planes with.
You can't go anywhere where there are domesticated cats because all we'll do is kill the entire cat population of this area.
Oh yeah, that should have been a scene. They're in Nepal and like this wave of cats just starts running to chase after it.
It's a great way to get pretty mad at you.
So the other thing I would say is that like, and this is a kind of a point in its favor for like script and plot, right? Is that they have the scene, the requisite scene where like the mercenary picks up the kid's dog and he's like, I'm gonna kill this dog if you don't tell me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In most
He's not a mercenary.
hackneyed,
He's an American soldier.
whatever, they were acting like mercenaries.
He's at like a SOCOM-esque
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. But like in most movies, they go the cheap route and it's like, I'm going to kill the dog. And then the hero goes, not today. That's too far. And it's like, this is your easy, like
Yeah.
cheap, like now you root
yeah.
for the main character moment. John David
Dude's
Washington
just
says
like-
nothing. He's just waiting to see like what this kid looking at. And then he goes and finds a solution and moves on.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
like,
also a cold-blooded killer.
right. Like what,
Yeah.
it gives you a lot about his character in
It
that
does.
one scene. And it doesn't do that really lazy writing thing where it's like, this is a instant win.
He's a
root
righteous
for the
person.
one guy
Right.
amongst the bad guys.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean, because
so-
like as far as he's concerned, the only thing he is there for is to get the package so he can see his wife.
Yeah.
that they have obviously like tricked him into thinking that she's there.
Which I did like that twist of like him trying to find her and then finding out that she's been in a coma, and then
Yeah.
it's like that bittersweet, like, oh man,
I
like
did not like the idea that she was just magically cloned everywhere, and then like they had their little reunion at the end with her clone right before they died.
Oh, see, I
thought
love
was-
that.
I thought
So-
that was
so
terrible.
that felt like the most anime part of this movie. How did you not like that?
The moment when the child walks in the hall of all of his wife clones in bags, and then he drags the
They weren't
wife
all
out.
his wife.
But
They
a
were-
lot. They were,
yeah.
But like that felt incredibly anime, and I know why you don't like it. It's because it hit too close to home.
No,
It's
that is
hitting-
not.
Andrew's crying right now. You can't see it at home.
It went drove home on Andrew. Andrew's
tearing
like,
up.
"Did Western media do this to me?" No, it's Japan's
He goes,
fault.
senpai.
I'm crying because of the trite, poor, cliched writing. We did not need that scene to have any kind of emotional weight. I'm
I
sorry.
feel like it was the closure, though.
But no, we already had the closure.
Well, you're right. Yeah, he did
killed
get-
her.
We already had
Yeah.
the high end emotion.
Yeah,
which that
we
was
already
a
had
crazy
that.
sequence in and of itself.
It was,
for like
yeah.
emotional stakes. So I haven't gotten to say my favorite.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said everything that was animated.
I mean, I
everything-
did say every mechanical object. Yes,
I thought that was your thing. Go ahead.
but I'm gonna again same idea here.
Yeah.
Basically every gunfight,
Yeah.
they felt really cool because it was very. Like fast, you didn't necessarily know where the bullets were coming from. They're like some of these fights, there are bullets flying everywhere.
But they
Yeah.
also did a good job of like every fight had like a bit of a twist to it. It was never just like people shoot from here
Yeah.
and they move. It's like they're trying to go here, but this thing's doing this, and then we have to do this, and then like it had like layers to it.
It had a lot of layers, but the bigger issue with that was, in between all of those, there's a lot of teleporting characters where just like, I'm here, and now we need to have this character all the way up here.
His complaint here is, oh, well, they had his wife's clone in the room. His complaint isn't that the 4-year-old dragged her body, we don't know how long. This thing casts a shadow from space. I don't know how far he dragged this kid.
Yeah.
Or the kid dragged the mom, and then...
just like
Joshua makes it from wherever the escape pod is for some reason
this
to
thing's
there.
exploding.
While everything is exploding
Yeah.
around him. How does he end up there? Like,
again, trite, cliched writing that didn't need to exist.
Like the moment is fine.
Well,
I think getting the pieces to that moment
was
felt
just
contrived. I want this moment, but I don't want to work for it.
Yeah.
Well, another thing too that I feel like we needed a little bit of clarification in order to understand some stakes was the child's powers. Like they mentioned a few
They got
times.
into that a little bit.
but
Come on now.
No. They used it as a get out of jail free card on multiple scenes where I was like,
they don't bring it up and they don't show it off
Yeah.
until way later in the film after he's introduced.
Well-
so like the entire time, like you get like one little bit where he turns off the TV.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Get a
That doesn't
nice
mean
start there.
anything.
He turns on the car.
But like that's
sure.
Like he
No, that's not the issue.
Controls like we don't get the scale of
The
what he
issue
does
is
on
the
scale.
it's the range and the scale of like you see him do some incredible stuff earlier that then later in the movie he just doesn't do, and I'm like,
Yeah, he shuts down an entire like checkpoint.
right,
Yeah.
and I'm
But,
like,
like,
awesome. So his
I thought he was growing in power.
yeah, and I thought they were going to give like some kind of a measurement of like at this rate, you know, in 2 days he'll be able to shut the Nomad down from the ground or so, you know, like whatever. And then we get up in the Nomad and stuff's going on, and he's not shutting down other things. He's like closing doors, and I'm like, shut this whole wing off.
He
Like,
gets grabbed by the tentacle monster, and it's like, dude, kid, why are you just
Shut the tentacle monster
turn it
down.
off.
Yeah,
it's your tentacle. They gave you a tentacle monster.
right.
This is a gift, kid.
So then the other issue that I had was pretty much like if they would have, you know, after they killed the mom and then essentially like he got him out of, you know, basically he faked him out of like he killed the kid, but then he's going to go to the funeral. And the movie ended there and we didn't go up to Nomad or whatever. I would have been completely fine with it.
And then we're primed for part 2.
Then we're primed for a part 2
Yeah.
because the issue is that because you only have so much time left in the film, the second that they escape and they have to go up to Nomad, it is just like bing, bang, boom, we're up in space. There's no problem here.
so-
We have no
so-
resistance.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, what I'm hearing from all of us is we don't actually dislike the film. We like the film so much we're mad that they didn't give us more.
Exactly.
Throughout, like not just within this film, but I would have loved for this to have done phenomenal. We get a sequel. We
Yeah.
get,
Well, that's the
like,
thing.
Come on, let's go.
I really feel that we are the core demographic for this film,
Yeah.
and us going into this and then being subsequently disappointed by basically everything except for the visuals is a telltale sign that it needed to be extended to a certain length.
And most of the performances. I thought the performances were pretty good. I thought
mostly,
John David
I think-
Washington did
I
really
think
good.
the music was acceptable.
Yeah.
The visuals
Yeah.
were spectacular.
Yeah.
The performances were a somewhat mixed bag across the whole cast, but the core
But the core
pieces
crew, yeah.
were phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, basically anytime Ken Watanabe shows up on screen,
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm like,
I mean,
yeah,
he does his job. He's a fantastic actor.
Says a couple of words, and I'm like, yeah, let's go,
Yeah.
Ken. You know.
So yeah.
Our Colonel lady bad guy was.
Oh, Allison Janney. Yeah,
She was fun.
She was
Yeah.
great. Like I'll tell you what, her and the military guys almost had like a James Cameron Aliens like Avatar-ish
like an
vibe
Avatar
to it.
vibe to him. Yeah,
Like,
they did.
I got some Jimmy Cam vibes in that. I was like, okay, it's got the group of roughnecks or whatever. All right, so let's wrap it up here. Would you recommend the movie, Steven?
So I think what I'm going to recommend is there are 2 ways you should watch this.
Okay.
And that's either when it hits streaming or when the director's cut comes out.
Okay.
I'll second that for mine because I definitely think that this is a movie that you probably don't want to waste theater money on unless you get it like on the $5 night or whatever.
Or like, it's so. I would love to be able to recommend this be on a really big screen because the
visuals are so
But
good.
then
Yeah.
it feels like you just need to turn your brain off. And
Yeah.
just look at the pretty lights.
I would recommend this to my friends who aren't maybe fans of science fiction because they're not going to be expecting a whole lot of deeper stuff to it. And then to my friends of science fiction, I would recommend it just off the visuals, and I would say it's kind of like Blade Runner.
Yeah,
like
just
don't expect them to get really into a lot of the issues they bring up. It's just going to be window dressing, but you got to check this
maybe
out.
You temper the expectations.
I mean, like to me too. Like if I look back at the movies throughout this year, like I liked this better than Indiana Jones.
Yes,
I like.
Oh
this.
yeah, 100.
I think I liked it better than Ant-Man.
I think this is
better than Ant-Man.
Better than Ant-Man.
Yeah. So like, it's not like the worst movie ever. It's just it's disappointing that like
that there was a lot of potential here, and it just didn't
so much
do
more.
much with it. Yeah.
And I assume we would all rewatch it just for the visuals.
Yeah.
Right?
When it comes out on streaming, I'll throw it back on.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we need to talk about our Patreon.
We do.
Yes, indeed.
For $1 low a month, you can get access to all of our bonus content. Low dollar. You can get access to all of our content, bonus episodes, commentaries, Patreon picks, polls, all the fun stuff. We have episodes like if we're going to fight presidents, how we're going to win.
Yep.
Also, we have tier lists of
We drank a bunch of sodas.
We just ate a bunch of candy. We have a candy tier list up for October. It's October. Halloween's here.
We just have tier lists of what can we consume that makes us sick in large quantities.
I really felt bad at the end of that one.
$a month.
Yes.
After all that candy, I was.
There's a lot of sugar. A lot more sugar than I wanted.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that sounds like about all the time we got. Follow us on social. Leave us a review wherever you're listening now, and share us with a friend. Until next time, I'm Ryan.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Steven.
And every spoiler was intended.